Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your attendance. The first item of the agenda is to elect a chairman for the purpose of this hearing. I believe Councillor Higgins has been nominated. Is that correct? Correct. Thank you very much. Councillor Higgins.
Good morning, everyone. This is a meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee B. We actually have two applications to hear today. The first one is an application to vary a premises licence for Lux, Six Lion and Lamb Yard, Farnham. Have there been any declarations of interest? And do we have a speaker for the applicant?
We do, yes.
Great. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Good morning. My name is Onur Sıroren. I represent Deluxe. I've been working for them to produce all these documents.
Thank you very much. Do we have objectors to speak? Great. Would you like to introduce yourself? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Councillor George Hess from Farnham Town Council.
Morning. My name's Neil Hurd. I'm a local resident.
Thank you very much. And in terms of, for benefit that don't know us, we'll go through introductions, starting from the right.
My name is Kimberly Sohn. I'm Senior Democratic Services Officer and clerking the meeting.
I'm Councillor Maxine Gale and I'm the Ward Councillor for Milford and Whitley.
I'm Councillor Michael Higgins. I'm chairing the meeting. I represent Ewhurst and Ellens Green.
I'm Ruth Reid and I'm the councillor for Bury. I'm the borough councillor for Waverley and I represent Cranley East.
Gillian Carson-Jones in Legal Services.
Paul Hughes, Licensing Manager.
Holly Appleton, Senior Environmental Health Officer at Waverley.
Emily Dorman, I'm an Environmental Health Apprentice for Waverley.
Thank you very much. And Officer Hughes, will you be introducing this application?
Thank you, Chairman. You have in front of you an application to vary the premises licence of the Lux, Six Lion and Lamb Yard, Farnham, from Mr. Keenan Hazard, where 19 valid representations have been received. In brief, the applicant seeks to extend the opening hours and the hours for the sale or supply of alcohol. Regulated entertainment, Sunday to Wednesday, 11 till in the morning till 2300 hours. Thursday to Saturday, 1100 to 10 to 1 in the morning. Late night refreshment, Thursday to Saturday, 2300 hours to midnight 45, so 1:45. Sale of alcohol for consumption both on and off the premises, Sunday to Wednesday, 11 in the morning to 2300 hours, Thursday to Saturday, 1100 to 1:45 again, is 0045. Opening hours, Sunday to Wednesday, 11 in the morning till 23:15, Thursday to Saturday, 11 till 0100 hours. One representation has been received from a responsible authority, Environmental Health, which is attached to Annex 5. The application has received 18 representations from other persons, 7 of which are objecting and 11 in support at Annex 6 and Annex 7 respectively. Officers request that you consider the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. I'll go to the applicant if you would like to speak on behalf of the application.
Thank you very much, Chair. I want to start with some general information about the premises and where it is located. I've read all the objections, all the supports, and we are taking extreme care for our residents, and even the support is outweighs the objections. It doesn't matter much, so we find them really equally important. The venue is called Lux. It is a fine dining restaurant. The menu is available online. There's nothing cheap and ordinary in the venue. The alcohol or other beverages, they are above the general pricing of the area. The idea is basically to create an environment that is not present in the area. There's lots of restaurants, bars, even the pizza shops, they are allowed to open till 1 o'clock with music and everything. We want to attract a different crowd. I mean, I'm looking around me, more or less, majority is over 40 years of age. The clientele we are looking is literally sitting in this room. It's above the age of 40, 45. The reason being is A, the affordability of the restaurant is not attracting young students, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. The whole idea behind it is, as I say, get a mature crowd who wants to enjoy a nice dinner with a fine wine. I mean, the wine prices goes up to £2,000-3,000 a bottles. They're not an establishment providing cheap alcohol. It's really the more quality than the quantity, if you wish. I've sent some photos of the restaurant. I'm sure you have seen them. It's far from a place where you go to the bar, get a drink, have a little dance around, or have 10 shots and get out and cause problem. It's not that environment. You take a seat. First of all, you're welcomed at the door with one of our managers, Liria, she's here. You're welcomed at the door. There's a dress code, smart casual. So no tracksuits, no football hoods, caps. Is allowed. So we want to keep a certain level of dress code inside. So not everybody's allowed. So you have to be vetted to go in these premises. And as I say, on the pictures you've seen, there's a great detail of decoration is in the place. It might not be your taste, totally understand, but it is something different. It is not your usual restaurant or public house. It is different, and there's nothing like that in the area. One other thing I want to highlight is the area, the Lion and Lamb Yard. I respect our local residents. It's their livelihood. They live there. And of course, they have a legitimate right to live in peace. There's no denying this. However, in some of the objections, it's reflected as Lion and Lamb Yard is a very residential area. I want to You can Google this. If you write Lion and Lamb Yard, I know the area very well. I've been there. I produced noise impact management. I had meetings with Holly here herself. So I know the area. I've been there in the evening. I've been there on the weekend. I've been there during the day. Just to have a clear idea of what we have. It's a shopping center. Don't take my words for it. If you Google Lion and Lamb Yard, on a Farnham Town Council's website comes second on the listing. And it explains the area about everything but residential. So it's not a very quiet street in any shape or form. There's restaurants, there are bars, there are retail shops. There's a very large capacity car park, literally 30 seconds walk, if I'm not mistaken. And the main entrance to that car park from the high street is through Lion and Lamb Yard. There's a kebab trailer in the car park. And there's a lot of footfall in this part of Lion and Lamb Yard. People going to the car park, getting kebabs, coming back. And I have provided some videos that in one of them you can see a new sport invented, a statue riding. Someone was riding a statue, which is, I don't know where the residents live exactly, obviously, but I believe it's very close to their properties. They are not customers of the Lux. In another video, people singing in the rain, very loud voice, and again, probably under the gentleman's residentials. Now, they're not the customers of the Lux. And to be fair, they're not the customers of my I don't think it's good to give a name, but the number 2526 is another restaurant which is directly opposite us, which has got longer operating hours than us. It's not their customers either. I'm not here to blame any other business, but obviously they are coming from the high street through Lion and Lamb Yard and going to the car park and making excessive noise. I totally understand your worries, sir. Absolutely. But we need to be careful here. Is every noise coming from the streets, every ASB, antisocial behavior, is done there, maybe urinating, I don't know. Is it because of the Lux? Or is it because of the other restaurant opposite? So we have to be very careful here when we are considering these objections, is how sure are these complaints are related to LUCs? So this is an important, I think, factor to take into consideration about the area. It's not quite as a cul-de-sac with lots of houses and there is one odd restaurant. Obviously, people go there for that restaurant. It's not the case, I'm afraid, in this instance. One other thing I would like to talk about, I'm sure we have a time to talk about the objections, but I want to pay attention particularly to the one that we received from the Farnham Town Council, which is number 5 in the objections. Farnham Town Council objects to the extended hours not being consistent with other establishments. I've read carefully the Waverley
Page
Council's...
48 for anybody who needs it.
Sorry, I missed that, by the way. Sorry. Can I continue? Thank you. So number 5, the objection from Farnham Town Council, it reads, and I quote, Farnham Town Council objects to the extended hours not being consistent with other establishments. I want to stop here. If you look at the, I'm sure we're all familiar with the Waverley Council licensing statement. Section 10, subsections 1, 2, and 3 are the licensing hours sections. I couldn't find, please correct me if I'm wrong, I couldn't find anything that states the businesses should be consistent with the operating hours. I don't think it is there. The other thing I want to suggest, if you wish, we are happy, if this is a concern to the town council, I would rather find a resolution to this rather than saying, no, we want 1 a.m. closing. I'm very happy to accept a very similar license to our neighbor, which is literally 3 seconds walk from our premises, which are allowed to carry on licensable activities of late night refreshment, regulated entertainment, and supply of alcohol in and out, because they got an outdoor space, till midnight, with a closing time of midnight. So I'm very happy to reduce our hours, which we asked, just as a gesture of goodwill from our side, because we don't want to cause a big problem. Although this is not a part of the licensing statement, but we're happy to act on that. Not a problem at all. One thing we need to look at is basically the licensing statement put a very important point in there. The closing time, if the same of all the premises, it might then lead to larger numbers to congregate, and it affects the dispersal, which is completely understandable. So I would suggest, if this is acceptable at any point, we are happy to accept licensable activities till midnight with a closure time of midnight on Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays. So this is a reduction from what we are asking, and it matches with the licensing hours stated on the licensing policy to the dot. Thank you very much. That's it from me for now.
Thank you very much for speaking. I'll move to the objectors. I think I'll go to Mr. Hurd first, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. I've prepared a few words, if I can read these out, if that's okay, yeah? So, yeah, for the last 11 and a half years, I've lived in a flat located in the building next door to the Lux. I've never been under the illusion that I live anywhere other than in the town centre of Farnham, and I understand that this comes with a certain amount of hustle, bustle and noise. For the last 7 months, my neighbours and I have been subjected to mental and physical stress of being forced to live next door to a business that has imposed its operations on us, with, in my opinion, little care about that effect and the environment around it. So far, the negative impact on our homes has included a noisy kitchen extraction system, which emits a constant drone, always audible to residents whose homes back onto Long Garden Walk at the rear of the Lux, to an extremely smelly kitchen extraction system that pollutes the local environment with a nasty, acrid odour of oily charcoal, leaving nearby residents unable to open their windows whenever the restaurant in the kitchen is in operation. Some residents even have windows in their home and their gardens located only a few metres away from the extraction point. A kitchen extraction system that was installed incorrectly, and despite it being 6 months since Waverley planning required them to provide an independent survey of it, it's still not been proven to meet the spec shown in its planning permission. I did write here, let's hope the fumes aren't carcinogenic, but I cross my fingers that that's true. Late night noise from loud recorded music, noise from loud music, including on occasions someone playing a drum kit over the recorded music. 6, late night alcohol-induced street disturbances. 7, cigarette smoke at the front and rear of the venue affecting open windows. 8, the sudden sound of crashing bottles being emptied late at night, despite the fact that we've asked on multiple occasions for you guys not to do that. We still get bottles crashing sometimes after 11 p.m, sometimes after midnight, and that's just unforgivable. 9, sudden sound of crashing bottles at 7 a.m, courtesy of the restaurant's waste collection supplier. 10, rubbish and smelly food waste scattered across Long Garden Walk because the business operated for its first 3 months without an appropriate lawful waste plan. And 11, for the first time, and I agree this may not be because of the looks, but as I said, I've lived in the area for more than a decade. For the first time, people have encountered vomit in the flower displays. So this business, in my opinion, is at odds with its surroundings because the shareholders and the licensee have shown a lack of empathy and compassion towards local residents. I hear what you're saying regarding that. I think you're paying lip service to the concept of that. I really do. Its only concern seems to be for profit at the expense of everything around it. So in summary, after everything experienced so far, here we are, the local residents, and yes, it isn't a housing estate. It is a shopping area that has a number of residents that live there and has been the case for, as I say, for a decade. We're now faced with the prospect of having to suffer in our homes for longer hours because of this application. It's not fair and reasonable, especially considering we've been established as, in that area as an area that has houses and homes in it for such a long time. Lion and Lamb Yard, try saying that when you've had a drink. Lion and Lamb Yard is not appropriate for a place for a nightclub posing as a restaurant. And in my opinion, that's what this business has been operating as. This view is notably backed by objections from Farnham Town Council and even the agent of the landlord, who we both share. So I'm urging for you guys to reject the application as a whole, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurd. I'll come to Councillor Hess.
Good morning, everybody. There are a number of elements to this, but I would start by saying that Farnham Town Council welcome and support new businesses to the town. We really do. They're a really essential part of the lifeblood of any town, as we all know. However, we do have issues here. I was just making a note as Mr. Hurd was speaking that this particular building that the Lux has taken on, unfortunately occupies a building that was retail. It was the Laura Ashley shop. And obviously retail closes at night. So no problem when a shop would close at 5, 6 p.m. It all goes quiet and residents nearby are not disturbed. And when the Lion and Lamb was converted with that premises in mind as retail, it was not built with high levels of sound insulation. And what the residents are finding now is that the sound of entertainment is transmitting through the building into their flats and disturbing them. So that's an existing situation that the residents are having to put up with. So I'll come on now to the Farnham Town Council objection. So Farnham Town Council objects to the extended hours not being consistent with other establishments in Lion and Lamb Yard, with the potential to cause nuisance to the residents in the adjoining flats, from noise from music, entertainment, customers leaving in the early hours, and staff closing up and leaving. I understand that the restaurant currently stops serving food at 10 p.m. 7 days a week. I hope that's correct. So with the proposed time extension, the question is, what would the restaurant be offering customers between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m.? If the proposal is for the consumption of alcoholic drinks and either recorded or live entertainment, it would cause additional disturbance to residents in the flats nearby. As members may be aware, there have been, and Mr. Hurd did refer to, there have been ongoing complaints from residents about cooking smells and noise, which are currently being dealt with by Waverley environmental officers. So I would ask the committee to refuse this extension of hours for now, in view of the inevitable additional noise that would be caused by the longer opening hours. But may I suggest that the current permitted hours are reviewed in, say, 12 months to see if the situation has settled down and improved by then. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hess. I'll now open it up to the committee for any questions. Apologies, sorry, environmental health play a very important role in this case. So if you wouldn't mind speaking on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Environmental Health has been investigating complaints against the premises since they opened pretty much at the beginning of the year. We did initially have 3 residential complainants come to us, backed up by local councillors as well, but it's only been 1 complainant who's provided sort of evidence and is still sort of live with us in terms of supporting the complaint and the investigation. To be fair to the premises, they have been pretty cooperative with us. They've introduced quite a few measures to try and mitigate noise, installing these acoustic curtains, managing the door, putting in a noise limiter for amplified music so we can control levels on that, reduce the bass. So they have tried, and I think where we are now, I think the complainants would agree, is vastly improved from where we were at the beginning in terms of music noise. Obviously, there's other issues that's still ongoing. We've yet to resolve this matter with the extraction fan, which has also been changed and replaced multiple times since they opened and is far quieter now than it was initially. But we're still in discussions over that. They have done an acoustic report. I met with their acoustic consultant. We had some issues with that report, so we've asked them to relook at it. So that process is still ongoing. And the odour mitigation measures as well, we've yet to have that sort of fully confirmed. A noise management plan, I think, is still sort of in progress. So it feels this application's possibly a little premature. I feel they've made great steps to try and protect residents, but I also feel we're still sort of working through this process, and we haven't had a sort of full summer with them open yet to really see if these mitigation measures are actually protecting residents. From what we've witnessed, it hasn't quite backed up some of the content of the complaints. I don't think it's horrendous all of the time. We haven't witnessed statutory nuisance, but certainly with the activities there is a potential for impact. The structure, they share structural elements. There's residential properties, you know, within that same structure, so it's going to need quite close control and the use of the limiter and good management to protect the residents from nuisance. So that's the current position. I feel like we're still working towards bedding them in, really, still relatively early in the process. But if it were to be granted, we'd certainly like to see some additional conditions. And I would be a little wary if we went straight to the hours that were initially proposed with this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now open up to the panel.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Or is it afternoon? But anyway, no, it's not quite. Had you thought about any structural work to the building? A neighbour of mine teaches music and he works in an outer, you know, in the garden, and he has lined his building so that no noise comes out. I know it's expensive, but had you thought about doing something like that? Because sound does travel through the ground, through buildings, and you know, I think that might be another way to mitigate the noise. And I'm sure your neighbours would appreciate it. As to the other things you were saying, or you were saying, Mr. Hurd, that vomit could come from any person walking through an alleyway. So I appreciate, you know, that nothing, you cannot associate that with your premises necessarily. It is, I know the Lion and Lamb Yard very well. I knew Laura Ashley, of course, and the testing that's been done does show, I think the highest one was about 49 decibels, wasn't it? That was emanating from the air outside. And I think the borough would look very kindly on you making more efforts along the lines to reduce noise and nuisance, and we could then look at it again. But we have a duty to protect our residents who live around, and that's one of the main objectives of the licensing policy that we look after for our residents. So you know, I'm sure you will be looking at all those points, and I can understand you can't do everything at once. So, you know, I'm sure we can look at it again, but there have been so many objections, and personally, I don't like a lot of noise. You know, I like to be able to think and reason. Although I know people have fun. And I have one more question. What do you actually do, or what do people do in the restaurant after they have finished their food? Please.
Hi there, so I'm Lyria, I'm the manager of Deluxe. So the concept at the moment, to try and kind of keep it simple, is that the diners will have their dinner upstairs, and if they want to kind of finish their drink or dessert wine or have a cocktail post-dinner, we instruct them to go downstairs so we can use the dining tables for other diners. We try and break our reservations up into 2 or 3 slots. So we have the early sitting, which is around 6:30. They get 2 hours at a table. Then the late sitting is from 8:30 until the restaurant closes. So if people, the favored time is the later slots, but they get booked up pretty quickly. So we say to them, come for the earlier sitting, have your dinner. Once you're done, you're going to finish your drinks or your dessert or whatever downstairs. So on Fridays and Saturdays, when we have the music playing, they will get downstairs, have the dessert, finish their cocktail. Some of them, very rarely, sometimes people will get up and dance, but it's not a nightclub concept. They will just kind of like, you know, having a drink and you kind of moving your body. It's not a full dancing kind of scenario. So they'll do that. And like my colleague said, our drinks, you know, our cocktails start at £14. we're not a cheap place. You know, if you go out to us, your average spend per head at the moment is about £95 per person. So it does take, it's a middle class to upper class, you know, our age, you know, 35 plus clientele. We don't get teenagers or young students or a young rowdy crowd who are doing, you know, shots and dancing on the table. And I'm quite strict as well. If I'm on shift and I see anybody who is looking like they're getting slightly drunk, I will stop serving them. And, you know, the owners do think, no, it's like, no, it's not fine. It's our licensing, it's our neighbors, we're going to stop serving them. And I do stop serving them. So we're not, obviously, once they leave the building, we try and say to them, please leave quietly, remind them. If they're heading up that way, I kind of sometimes walk with them to make sure that they are being quiet. But once they kind of by Waitrose, there's nothing I can do. I can't walk them to their car, but I do make sure that they kind of leave and they're being quiet. And if they are being loud, you know, the owner once told me that I was being too rude to a customer. I was like, I'm not being rude, I'm just telling them to keep the noise down. And, you know, they're no longer our customers because they've left the building. So they need to keep the noise down. It's that simple. Like I said, I'm the same. I like quiet. You know, I've got 2 children at home, but at the same time, if, you know, people are out having fun, I don't want to put too much of a damper on their mood, but I will remind them that they need to leave the premises quietly, just be respectable. If they're not being respectable, I'll make sure that I put my foot down to make sure they're doing so.
One thing that you do have control over, of course, are the emptying of bottles. And that is a very big concern because people like their sleep. Not everyone does 9 till 5. People work and sleep at different times. Although people are very tolerant, who do you have to oversee this emptying of bottles and glass, please?
Ma'am, I will answer your first question as well, because you asked 2 questions. My colleague take the last one. The first one was about the sound installation on the wall. So if you don't mind, I'll start from there and come to the rubbish. By the way, everything the objector said did happen. We are not refusing, or we are not saying the noise issue didn't happen. The rubbish bottle issue did not happen. The extractor fan, we accept all this. Okay, sir. So I will use past tense. I prefer past tense. This did happen. We take precautions immediately, and we worked with the environmental health, and she kindly confirmed that we are so cooperative. The sound installation is, before we go to that, there's another option that we can sort this issue out. It's very simple, and which is called the limiter. When we put the limiter, we reduce the sound. We tried it for a week. We find out that we needed to, by the way, when I say week, it's only on the weekend. During the week, we don't use it much anyway. We had to reduce a bit more. We reduced it a bit more, and I have your email saying that the residents even confirmed with you that everything was improved greatly, and they were happy with it. Again, on the licensing statement, in the same points, we can put a simple condition to tackle this at our expense, obviously. The sound system can be calibrated by an approved contractor by the council. And there are private firms, they do that. They come. We agree with the council a certain decibel that will, I believe, council would liaise with the resident, or if he wants to liaise with our, not us, with our contractors in our expense. We can find a sweet spot, and these companies, they seal the limiter. We don't have access to it. No one has access to it. And it is, excuse my language, idiot-proof. It will never, ever go above that decibel. This can be done by a simple condition, which I can read the condition if you wish. And again, this will be in line with your licensing statement, with the Waverley licensing statement, and it will allow us to control the noise. Very simply, it's not that difficult. You may ask me why it's not been done so far, which I welcome that question. Before you ask, let me come to that. Just like the extractor fan or the smell issue, we get a company, We give them the approval from the building control or the planning, and we say, look, this is what we need. And we give out serious amounts of money, thousands and thousands of pounds, to get these industrial units, let it be sound system, let it be the extractor system, because they both produce noise. And they both have to be up to standards. They're very expensive specialist equipment. Equipment installed. Last thing we want, absolutely last thing an operator wants, is to spend same amount of money again to replace it with something else. That's the last thing an operator wants. Unfortunately, these things do happen. I wish it never happened, but it did. What the operators did, though, as opposed to my friend, neighbor said, the operators acted in most responsible way to take immediate action. No money is being spared. Again, you know how much these things cost. No money has been spared. Update the system. Let's try this. Let's get a better system. Let's find a different contractor. And all these issues we are talking about here is easily sorted. And in my opinion, some of them already sorted. You should be receiving the smell report today. The other one sent to you yesterday. Why these things that took so long? The company is doing that. There's calculations. And I'm good with maths, but believe me, the calculations we are looking at that is quite advanced. They're decibels, they're this, they're that. They're really thick documents. They've been done by specialist companies, and these companies, they don't turn up the same day or the next day. You got a waiting time of a month. They come down, they do the test, another week for the results of the test, then another week or two to written the report. And then we look at the report, get a contractor, okay, what can we do to mitigate this? And so on. So the operator is doing everything in his power to get these issues sorted. And most of these issues, excuse me, I'm going to use this word, is exaggerated in the objections. And I believe we have enough proof on the support documents. One of the support documents clearly states, which is that premise is closer to the to us than the neighbor. It states that since the upgrade done, there is no smell issue, there is no sound issue. So there's as many objections, there's as many supports saying absolutely otherwise. And my dear friends, they're not the only residents in that area. There is 20, 25, more or less.
Yeah, roughly.
They're happy. They're not here. Sir, I didn't say it's you.
If we could just go through a chair, please. That's not a problem. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments, but I'll move to Councillor Gale.
Thank you, Chair.
I think the speaker was going to comment on the other issue, the bottles and the noise.
The issue has happened. I apologize, sincerely apologize. It should not have happened. However, you used the word, and it's recorded, unforgivable. Sir, this is not an irreversible crime. It's an irresponsible act of a staff, member of the staff. It should not have happened. I sincerely apologize for it. That's all I can do at this stage. And I can only guarantee you that this will not happen. But it is far from unforgivable. And this is what I'm trying to get to. Yes, you know, we shouldn't exaggerate small things, and by calling them unforgivable, it's a bit too harsh. And it's a simple act of a member of staff, shouldn't have happened. It happened, hands up. But action taken, everybody's informed, and it's not happening anymore.
Thank you. Councillor Gale.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'm very pleased that the restaurant is working with environmental health, and I think that's very necessary. The bottle disposal, I know we've seen in other establishments, and some of the problems are when the bottle collection people turn up. It's not necessarily your staff. It can be the company you're using to collect the bottles, and they're appearing at an ungodly hour, which you know, you need to speak to those people about, because that is a very big disturbance in the early hours of the morning. My colleague asked about what do you do between 10 o'clock and the 3 hours that you stay open. So now we hear that you've actually got a restaurant, tabled restaurant in the upper level. Yeah, but mostly in the ground floor. You move people who have eaten to the ground floor where there's an area where they can drink and they can order from the bar. And there is obviously somewhere they can jiggle about, as you said. So it is open for that type of entertainment in the ground floor of the building. My question there is, do you just continue to serve drinks? I mean, if somebody leaves their restaurant table, let's say 8 o'clock, can they sit in your bar until you close? That's one question, if you'd like to answer that first.
They're allowed to, under one condition, if they had a meal, if they had a substantial meal. You cannot come to the restaurant. Can I go to the bar and have a drink? No.
Yeah,
No,
okay,
we are
so-
not interested.
Yeah,
in that
thank
sort of
you.
business.
You've answered. So they can actually come and have an early meal and then sit in your establishment for the rest of the evening up until 1 o'clock drinking. Okay, and listening to music. You said that you're a fine dining establishment, but we hear that people are playing the drums. There's live music, and I believe a sports event recently. I imagine that was with a large screen or something for the football matches or something like that. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I wouldn't know. But again, that's more of an entertainment venue than a fine dining restaurant, which is what you sort of said to us about. I mean, is it necessary to have this live music? Is it really necessary? A fine dining restaurant to me has a piano bar or something. It's not. If you were talking of people my age, which is what you're obviously saying, you're centering this on, I would have thought it would have been more appropriate for music in the background, not something that you get up and jig about to. But that's my own personal view. But I am interested to note that you will let people sit in your bar as they would in a pub, really, and just drink. Because if they've eaten at 8 o'clock and they're there until 1, it's really no different to being in a bar. But anyway, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I need to clarify a few things. The drum is happened on a Elvis night. They wanted to come up with ideas. And we are not shy from saying that there's light entertainment in the venue. We are not hiding this. Everything is transparent. The light entertainment did the Mamma Mia night, a musical. It's just a relocation. They did an ABBA night, which is, again, if you look at the age group who might listen ABBA or watch Mamma Mia or Elvis tribute, we can understand, again, which kind of way the place is going. It's light entertainment. And they're not sitting at the bar, by the way. There's no sitting at the bar. That is not allowed. There is no seats at the bar. There's a small bar, and you cannot go to the bar and ask for a drink. You're seated at a table, and there's a waiter service. The reason we separated the two, it's a bit more romantic, if you wish, a quieter environment. We want to give a little bit of both worlds. However, there is no dancing. Look, we all do it. Sometimes you do get a bit excited. You do a little bit of this. There is no dance floor. There are still tables. People sit on the tables, carry on their drinks. Now, the entertainment, as I say, is light entertainment. And nowadays, it is the new trend. Especially if you want to go to, we are not allowed to open till 1, by the way. We're closing at 11. So then if we were talking about 1, that's not happening yet. Yes, and by the way, any live entertainment that has been provided was before 11 p.m. I want to stress that. There has never been an instrumental or anything after 11. That's never happened. But yes, the drumming is happened. And I was speaking to Ms. Appleton here, that was a big mistake. And again, never happened. We are talking about an issue that arose once, lesson learned, never repeated ever again. That doesn't happen again. There's no live. It doesn't happen. When it comes to the downstairs, moving people downstairs, again, it's just to separate it. if you want to go from our place to somewhere else that is open till, let's say 1, you sit down, you have a meal, you pay a service charge, you leave my premises. You are not a public house type. You want something a bit more, I think I can use the word sophisticated. And you want to go to another establishment, which is, alcohol is 9 out of 10 is ancillary to a meal. So you have to buy another meal to have another glass of wine. So we are trying to provide all-in-one solution. So a light entertainment, a lovely dinner, and right now it's till 11. By the way, we can serve food till 11. However, we opt to stop at 10. We are allowed to serve food till 11, sir. But we opt out to finish at 10 just because to keep calms down, the alcohol stops 20 minutes too, which we can, our license allows us, which is funny to be honest with you, to serve alcohol till 11, whereas the closing time is at 11 as well, which is quite ridiculous in my opinion. The alcohol's supply of alcohol and closing time is exactly the same time is wrong. You know, there has to be half an hour, ideally, drink up time. But we take it on the chin, so in the interest of not causing a public nuisance or, you know, in the interest of everybody's safety and good living, well living, we stop before our license permits. So again, I'm going to come to how responsible the operators are. Yes, mistakes have happened, but they are addressed, and they have been predominantly sorted. And with a couple of conditions from the environmental health about the extractor and everything, we are welcoming any condition that is being put forward. And I'm happy to suggest this condition to get the limiter calibrated by an outside acoustic company which the council approves. And until this is done, so this can still be approved today with those 2 conditions. And then everything we don't do is even enforceable. Don't forget, there is no penalties, warnings, there is no notices being issued. Believe me, the problem is not as big as it is exaggerated, and it can easily be sorted.
Thank you, Councillor Gale.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, just one more question. You've said that the light entertainment that you currently have downstairs with the drinking area has been stopping at 11 o'clock, because that's when your premises at the moment have to close anyway. If your premises were open later, what time would your entertainment finish?
In the beginning of my opening statement, I did say we forget about 1 a.m. That was, as I said, that was a different reason, but so we are very happy to finish each and every licensable activity at midnight. That's what we are asking. 1 o'clock was too far. Now, considering they are neighbors, I do understand, and we just want to compromise from this side of the thing. So midnight, licensable activities stop with a 15 minutes drink up time, 12:15, midnight, the venue closes. The reason I say 15:15, I'm happy to take 30:30, is because the other venue closes at 30:30. So there's a 15 minutes gap in the closing times. So we are basically complying with the Waverley Borough's licensing statement, section 10 and subsections 1, 2, and 3. You're welcome.
Thank you. Gillian, do you have any questions? I've just got a couple of questions, but first of all, I'd just like to say thank you very much for speaking today. You've come very well prepared, which is not always the case with applicants, so you're to be commended on that. In terms of the restaurant, it looks like a very good restaurant from what I've seen. Slightly gutted, I'm no longer considered young, but it is a good restaurant. You've obviously heard from Environmental Health, you have made steps to work with them. But what do you say to Environmental Health and Councillor Hess, who are saying this is actually probably a little bit premature, and maybe you should have waited? Why now?
Thank you for the question, sir. It's a difficult one. I'm not going to bring out financial reasons to the table because it's not a licensing matter. However, I cannot hide from the reality of this unexpected, especially with the ventilation system. If we are talking not thousands, tens of thousands of pounds. And the demand in the area, there's a demand. There's a high demand. It's not little. You got support letters in front of you. There is a high demand. And the support letters more than the objections. Doesn't mean much, but it's there. We want to accommodate this demand. And our competitor, as I say, 3-second walk away from us, not 3 minutes, not 5 minutes, 3 seconds. We are here, they're there. They have the possibility to open till midnight and then close at midnight. So this causes a unfair competition, if you wish. So if you're going to support our businesses, just like the gentleman earlier on, which we welcome. We applied for temporary events and we've been given those temporary events. I believe we used most of them well. One of them was an issue, yes. But thank you very much for the support. You're 100% right. But we are in need of a little bit support more, just to be able to compete with our competitor. Because I am losing. When I say I am, sorry, I'm a bit passionate, so it's not my place I represent. But we need to give them equal opportunity. The other venue got an outdoor space of at least 30, 40 people, if not more. I got the pictures. I don't want to blame my other neighboring businesses. I wish all the best for them. But they have a little advantage already with their outdoor space. And there's more noise than us because 30, 40 people drinking and smoking in that outdoor space. We don't have that. So I want a little, that's why I was stepped back from 1 a.m. Too much, absolutely understand. That's why I stepped back from it, but just give us a 12 midnight with the conditions that we have to obey, which will completely sort any outstanding, which is very little. And that gives us an equal chance to have the financial competition with our competitors in the area.
Thank you. You've mentioned a couple of times, you touched on it in terms of another business has longer trading hours and it was like a 3-second walk, I think you said. Which business is that?
It's number 2526 Line and Lanyard. Can I give the name? Coach Brasserie. I got the license copy on my phone. It's on the Waverley Council website.
No, I've got the record. That is correct. But what time do they actually stay open till?
Midnight, licensable activities Friday and Saturday with a closing time of midnight, sir.
But do they not close at 10 o'clock?
Excuse me?
Do they not close at 10 o'clock?
No, sir. They have the license is till midnight. And that's the licensable activities, which is late night refreshment and the recorded music and the supply of alcohol, in and out, on and off, by the way.
Their website shows 10 o'clock. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, Mr. Hurd.
I'd just like to ask, what entertainment does that your competitor offer? What music do they play? What acts do they? What ABBA afternoon events do they have? I can't see how you think that they're a competitor to you. I really don't quite get that.
Please go ahead.
I don't understand the question. They're a restaurant. I
think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hurd, he's saying that it's not a direct comparison. They're not running sort of almost like a bar entertainment, light entertainment, that element to it.
So, I mean, we really need to understand one thing. This is not a bar. We are talking about a restaurant. Every restaurant, including a pizza shop, have a bar. This is not something very different. This happens in every restaurant. You got the waiting area, you can have a little sit down and have a drink, and there's always music. We just tweaked it, and I stated in the beginning, in my opening statement, we are different than the other establishments. I stated this. I'm not trying to, this is not a Trojan horse application, sir. Everything is transparent. You know, and I mentioned ABBA, I mentioned all this. So everything is quite clear, but we are talking about a restaurant. So people want to go and to have a dinner at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and have a little drink afterwards. There's no harm in this. And yes, they are my competitors because they serve food, they serve wine, they serve coffees, everything we serve, they serve to the dot.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions
No,
from
no.
panel? You have an opportunity now just to give one last summary to put forward your case.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to mention a couple other things that is really upset me. And that was an allegation, unfortunately made by my dear neighbor, that this business is all about profit. It's far from truth. Again, I don't want to repeat myself how much money is being spent just for their well-being. It's thousands, tens of thousands, closing to 100,000. Also, I would like to give this information. We have so far, in the 6 months of opening, we supported Potter's Gate School twice, St. Peter's Primary School 3 times, South Farnham, so far only once. We have 2 charity events coming up. One of them is for spinal injury research. We are selling tickets for £60, £30 of each ticket, 50%, sir. Not 5%, not 1%, 50% of each ticket is donated directly. That's £30. If you get 100 people, that's £3,000. That's hardly we're working that for profit. Another one we are doing, Meals on Wheels. Maybe you are aware, that's Brightwells Gostory. We are organizing a charity event for them as well. We got no profit from this, more or less. There's £12 from every £30 sold. And the cost of this for us is about £25. £12 from every ticket that goes directly to them. I have the proofs, if you ever wish, I can send this to you. I mean, these are hardly the actions of an operator that only thinks profit. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope we have a good decision after this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Officer, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, because Coat was brought up and it's ours, although they might not be playing music, I don't know, I haven't visited, they have the ability to play music till midnight. So if another operator took over, they would be able to play music till midnight.
That's my understanding. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Hughes. We'll now adjourn, consider everything that's been heard. Thank you, everyone, for speaking. And we'll look to make a decision as quickly as possible, and we'll come back to you with that decision. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We've obviously thought about this long and hard. I'd like to thank everyone once again for speaking on this and speaking so well. We've considered this fully with advice from the Borough Solicitor. We did welcome the applicant's concession to reduce the hours to midnight trading with closure at midnight. However, we have to look at, when we're making a decision, at the licensing objectives. In this case, it was quite clear that public nuisance was at the forefront in respect to smell and noise. We've heard from the applicant, we've heard from environmental health, and we've heard from the objectors. We commend the applicant for working with environmental health and putting steps towards reducing the noise and smell. However, we felt as a committee that not enough time to monitor the improvements had taken place. You've heard from Councillor Hess as well as the environmental health that this is probably a premature application. The committee considered that there was a lack of evidence, as I mentioned, in terms of timescale. So you are free to apply again, but in this instance, we will be rejecting your application. You will receive our reasons in writing, and that will be forwarded to you within 5 days. You'll then, if you wish, have 21 days to appeal that decision. But I would like to thank you for coming towards this committee and speaking today. Thank you. It's the big button, the red light comes on and the camera spins.
Lovely.
When you finish. Good morning, everyone. This is reconvening of Licensing Subcommittee B. We're now hearing the second application, which is a new premises licence for Asda Express, PFS Manor Weald, at the Manor Weald Bypass Road, Milford. Do we have any declarations of interest?
Yes, I need to declare a non-pecuniary interest as I'm the ward councillor for Whitley and Milford.
And do we have anyone speaking for the applicant?
Morning. So yes, my name is Taylor, Richard Taylor, solicitor for Asda.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And objectors?
Yeah, I'm Jim Pettit. I'm from Whitley and Milford Parish Council, where I chair the Planning and Highways Subcommittee.
Thank you.
Councillor Phoebe Sullivan, ward councillor on the borough for Whitley and Milford.
Thank you. And for those of you that don't know us, we'll begin with introductions. To my right.
My name is Kimberly Sohn. I'm Senior Democratic Services Officer and clerking the meeting. I'm Councillor Maxine Gale, ward councillor for Whitley and Milford.
Councillor Michael Higgins, I represent Ewhurst and Ellens Green.
Ruth Reid, I'm the councillor for Cranley East.
Gillian Carson-Jones in Legal Services.
Paul Hughes, licensing manager.
Thank you. We'll begin with you, Mr. Hughes, introducing the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. You have in front of you an application for a new premises licence for Asda Express, PFS, Manor Weald Bypass Road, Milford, Godalming, where two relevant representations in objection have been received. There have been no representations received from responsible authorities. In brief, the applicant seeks to licence the premises for late night refreshment, 2300 hours to 0500 hours, and sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises only. There is an error in the report, talks about on and off sales, but it is off sales only, Monday to Sunday, midnight to midnight, basically 24 hours a day, opening hours 24 hours a day. Officers request that you consider the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. And Mr. Taylor, if you'd like to speak for the applicant.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. I'll deal with this as quickly as I possibly can, but I'll deal with the application, if I may, in three parts. The first is the applicant. The second is the application itself and the measures that we will take to promote the licensing objectives. And the third part is just to comment on the issues raised by those letters of representation. So first things first, the applicant is Eurogarages Limited. Eurogarages is now wholly owned by Asda. Now, I have acted for Asda since Licensing Act 2003 came into force, and indeed before that, and the company has over 1,000 stores, serves millions of customers a week, and the proud boast, and it is a proud boast, is that I have never had to sit in a committee meeting like this on review of an Asda premises licence. So despite all of that, Asda has never been reviewed, and Asda has never been prosecuted for a Licensing Act 2003 offence. Now that, members of the committee, is testament to the quality of Asda's policies, its procedures, its training that it gives to all of its colleagues to ensure that its stores run without any difficulty whatsoever. So that's the applicant, easy. Application. It's an application for a premises licence to allow the premises to sell alcohol off sales 24 hours a day and to allow late night refreshment between 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. Just dealing with that late night refreshment, hot drinks only. There is a coffee machine. So the Greggs will be closed. There is no hot food for sale or anything. The only reason that we need to cover late night refreshment on the premises licence is because it is possible to buy coffee. The premises are already open 24 hours a day, have been open 24 hours a day for at least 10 years. And the first question I ask when I get an instruction like this, when we're going 24 hours, is there any history of problems? Is there any history with the local residents? Have there been any complaints? Has there been any issues with the responsible authorities? And both questions came back with, no, we do talk to the neighbour over the back, but you know, everything is fine. We haven't spoken to him for 6 months, and yeah, we run. Yeah. And so all we're seeking to do is to add the ability to sell the odd bottle of wine, the odd pack of beer, alongside the groceries, the ready meals, the household goods that this premises already sells 24 hours a day. So the question that I'm probably going to ask you at the end is what difference is it going to make if you can sell a bottle of wine from a premises where you're already open? Is that going to actually cause any difference at all, or a cup of coffee in the middle of the night or through the night, to drivers, to people on shifts, whoever may be shopping at that time? So that's the application. The steps to promote the licensing objectives, well, everything that you would expect from a major operator. Full digital CCTV, full staff training, training is regularly refreshed. That training includes Challenge 25, acceptable identification, proxy sales, who you can sell to, who you can't sell to. Spirits and high value products behind the counter. The Asda convenience stores don't sell anything that's likely to appeal to young people or street drinkers, not that this be a particular issue here, but no miniatures, no white ciders, no ports, no sherries, no half bottles of wine or anything like that. And everything's possibly done to produce a range that complements what we do sell, but doesn't just appeal to those who are drinking perhaps on the streets or more. Till prompts, they're a feature of all supermarkets these days. Asda also does independent test purchasing. It engages a firm who sends in 18 and 19-year-old young people to check that they are challenged when they're buying age-restricted products. And of course, we sell all sorts of age-restricted products. It's not just alcohol. You know, there's cigarettes, there's lottery, there's paracetamol, there's all sorts of age-restricted products. And it's a disciplinary offence not to implement the training. And finally, as far as the garage estate is concerned, sales between 10 o'clock in the evening and 5 o'clock in the morning are done through a night hatch. No customers are admitted into the store between those times, save for emergency services who may want to come in and use the coffee machine and use the lavatories. So that's what we do. That's what we do in, well, there's about 350 petrol station locations which have convenience stores. To the representations, we've seen one from the Parish Council, Mr. Pettit's here to talk to that, one from Mr. McGregor. We extended an invitation through Paul to meet with everybody. That was taken up by Mr. McGregor, with whom we've met twice. Mr. McGregor's point, I'm a bit concerned that this may drive trade through the night. It may cause noise and nuisance. We've said, well, we don't think it will. There's no evidence that it does anywhere else. It came out a bit further that there were other issues. And we've agreed certain things with him. We've agreed to change the bin collection times because they were irritating to him. So they're after 7 o'clock. We've blocked off a car parking space at night so that anybody who does come in the later hours can't park as close to his house. And we've cut back on I can't read my own writing there. Anyway, so Mr. McGregor is concerned about the alcohol sales, and that's absolutely fine. He has those concerns. We've done our very best to say to him that just doesn't happen elsewhere, and we're very happy to keep talking to him and to work with him. From the Parish Council, well, Mr. Pettit's here. He can talk to him. I mean, they have concerns about increased antisocial behaviour and litter. If the police had any concerns about antisocial behaviour and this causing any difficulty whatsoever, well, the police would be certainly here to tell you about it. We have no issues with the police at all, no issues of antisocial behaviour reported in that particular area to us. So the concerns expressed by the Parish Council in the letter aren't certainly shared by the police or environmental health. So that's it, members of the committee. It's effectively we're already open. Please, can we put the odd bottle of wine, a pack of beers on the shelf to sell alongside everything else that we can sell all the way through the night? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mr Taylor. I'll move to the Parish Council representative, Mr Pettit.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak at the licensing subcommittee. Our objection to this application is really to the proposed sale of alcohol in the evening from 2300 hours until the early morning. I'll just pick up on a comment that the applicant made just now, saying about the night hatch, which I thought was to be operated from 2300, and he said it was 2200, but maybe we can just clarify that later on. Yeah, we have had complaint. I mean, the applicant mentions there haven't been any complaints, but we've certainly had complaints from residents about antisocial behaviour in the vicinity of the petrol filling station, including littering around one or two of the residential areas opposite, really. But what does also happen there, and this is the complaints we've had, is there's been noise around. There seemed to be a congregation point of the forecourt in the evenings, with car doors slamming, revving engines, and music, of course, from cars, I guess. And as I say, it's being used as an area to congregate. So there is antisocial behaviour. We believe that's what we would call that, that is happening at the moment. The police are aware of issues relating to this petrol station. I don't want to go on to that because they do involve some fires that were lit in one of our parks where some of the goods were actually, we know, stolen, I believe, from these premises. The police were involved in that. We've sent reports to the police, so the police should be aware of issues there. But that doesn't relate to the licensing application that's in front of us at the moment. So I'm not going to go down that road. As I say, we do actually question the sale of alcohol principle of that from a petrol filling station per se, but we do recognise that the police have raised no objection. And we also recognise that the store is aiming to provide a convenience store offer that some neighbouring premises are already offering, and you're trying to sort of match that in a competitive way. And so we're not really arguing with that. Our main objection is the sale of alcohol overnight, which we consider would only encourage more antisocial behaviour. It's not likely that anybody wanted to purchase alcohol after certainly 11 o'clock, likely to be somebody who's going to go somewhere nicely and drink that at home. It's more likely that it will be used, we believe, and will only add to the level of antisocial behaviour in the area. And it isn't necessary, we don't believe, as part of the offer for a convenience store, which is what's being proposed here. That's my point. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, and I'll come to Councillor Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't want to take up too much time as well, and I fully endorse and second Jim's or Whitley Milford Parish Council's comments. I agree. I personally don't have any issue with the sale of alcohol. I think my issue and the feedback that I've had from residents when talking to multiple residents, obviously as ward councillor, is little positivity that would come out of selling alcohol in those extended times, so the out of hours times. But as I said, I think the key interest that I have is the kind of key mitigation and conditions that can be put around antisocial behaviour and littering. So obviously we've already discussed antisocial behaviour, so I don't want to touch too much on that. But secondly, the litter on site, I personally have done a fair amount of litter picks going down Cherry Tree and also on the main road onto the A3. We know that we have a lot of late night drivers and racers on the A3, and a lot of them stop off at the Milford Esso at later night, and the littering is really, really bad there, really, really bad. So as I said, I'm very pro the alcohol license, but I really don't see much positivity that can come out of being able to sell that amount, and I don't think it is the odd bottle, because when we do our litter picks, there are obviously loads of drinks that are around, so I can't see it being the odd sale or two, and so it would just be the mitigation measures that could be put in place for littering as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open up to the panel. Councillor Gale, would you like to speak?
Yeah, just local observations, really. I believe the premises used to hold an alcohol licence, which has either lapsed or not taken on by the current owners. As you say, it's been taken on. So I think that's where the problems with alcohol from local residents' memory is coming from, because when it did sell alcohol, that's when there was wine bottles and beer bottles and things. It's the collection of people. You have quite a few parking spaces adjacent to your forecourt. You have the spaces where people park to come into the store, which is lovely. But you then also have an area of parking away from the forecourt. And I think that's where most of the problems lie, with people perceive that if alcohol is sold after 2300 hours, people will park there and sit and congregate as they do now, but it will be with alcohol if the alcohol is on sale at the forecourt. I have to agree with Councillor Pettit. We know there is antisocial behaviour around that area. It has been documented by police. There have been cases, so we do know that happens around that area, because basically it's not a very well lit area. It's not used a great deal apart from people that are congregating. So I think that's why perhaps the antisocial behaviour happens. It's not overlooked all the time. But anyway, just for clarity, I think the parking area is a problem, and I think it's perceived that if the alcohol is for sale after 2300 hours, alcohol will be bought and it will be consumed in that parking area. Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to answer that? It's not in our interests to allow anybody to consume alcohol purchased in the vicinity, and all staff are trained to ensure that that does not happen. Now, if something is happening at the moment, that's absolutely nothing to do with licensing. If a license is granted, then that places additional responsibilities upon us. And what I can tell you is that, you know, with 300 and odd of these premises, there is no problem with people gathering and drinking alcohol on our sites, having purchased stuff that they bought from us. There's no evidence of that at all. The other thing to say is we'd understood that there may have been a license in the past, but what we do know is that it was, as you say, it's lapsed or has been surrendered. It certainly wasn't revoked due to any difficulty with alcohol sales.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Councillor Reid?
Now it's good afternoon. Basically, you have 350 outlets where you have similar, already have licensing. Is that right, to sell alcohol?
The EG estate, the Eurogarages estate that's been acquired by Asda, has 350 premises. We are licensing those. Many are licensed already. We're licensing those as we go. There's about 330 odd already licensed. There is then an Asda chain of convenience stores itself. There's then a second Asda chain of convenience stores, which were formerly co-ops. And then there's the Asda estate, which runs to about 600 shops. So there's well over 1,000 shops. And Asda had its own petrol filling stations as well, or petrol filling station convenience stores as well. So yes, there's around 350 already licensed, probably possibly more.
This must be a big job, training all these people, extra people in the Licensing Act, and managing it all.
Well, Asda in its core estate has about 120,000 colleagues, and they all receive training. There is a this is a blue chip multinational company that trains its colleagues particularly well, and its track record speaks for itself.
I think the main concern, and I don't know how we can alleviate the concern, is the fact that it is just off the A3, and I know, having lived in Guildford before I moved to Waverley, that we've had an awful lot of problems in certain car parks in the middle of off Ladymead with racers and boy racers, I think they are, and people who are congregating with cars. And I think that maybe the concern is this could be exacerbated with the sale of alcohol at a petrol station. You did say, I mean, it doesn't sound much, the odd bottle of wine, does it? But, you know, we know that it isn't just going to be the odd bottle of wine. It could be, you know, packs that are consumed, you know, and then people are going straight onto the road. You say that the police haven't made any comment, but there is nothing to comment on at the moment, is there? So the fact is, it goes down to the administration, should we be minded to grant it, of the training and the interpretation of that training and the management of the people that you have trained within that premises. And I think, you know, these are worrying concerns to everyone in this room, basically.
I understand that those are the concerns. What I would say is that in 20 plus years of acting for Asda, I have never ever heard any criticism of Asda's training or how it manages its people or how it promotes the licensing objectives. And I appreciate that those are your concerns, but when I come to close this, I'm going to talk about evidence and case law as opposed to concerns and supposition. And I think that's what's important here. It seems that there is a feeling that it's through the night that might be a problem. We did discuss internally whether or not we would be prepared to limit the sale of alcohol hours to 6 till midnight, which is what we do where there are police concerns. We decided not to in this particular instance because there are no concerns expressed by the police or indeed any of the responsible authorities. However, and when I close this case, I will say it again, should the committee believe that there is evidence to support a limitation of the hours to 6 till midnight, then that would be accepted by Asda.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I accept the staff will be well trained, especially I think if they're night shift, they probably leave and enhanced training in terms of dealing with certain issues. You've obviously heard the concerns in terms of purchasing alcohol. You've heard concerns about littering. Within the realms of premises, I accept that probably staff would be able to disperse people, but how do you stop, you know, what experiences have you had in terms of preventing sort of late purchase of alcohol, people going to parks, creating antisocial behaviour in the area, littering? What experience and what mitigating circumstances, what can you put in place to prevent that?
The staff are trained that if there is any suggestion that this is effectively an immediate purchase or a purchase for immediate consumption, that it's not made. That's not what we're about. We don't condone that. The Home Office guidance is very, very clear, isn't it? That away from premises, issues of antisocial behaving, whether or not they're littering or noise, are issues of personal responsibility. There's nothing a licensee can do. If I go to Tesco, if I go to Waitrose, which is very nice, by the way, having had a couple of coffees in there, buy one of the very many champagnes that's on sale at the moment, and then take it back home to Yorkshire and, you know, cause a noise in the street. That's not Waitrose's fault. That's my personal responsibility. And we can go so far. The staff are trained. The colleagues, I must start call them colleagues. I'm sorry. The colleagues are trained. But we can only do so much, but that's what we do, and that's why we have the track record that we do.
Thank you. Mr. Pettit mentioned about the night hatch. When will that operate from?
So the night hatch will operate between 2200 and 5 a.m.
Is that what you understood?
Well, yes. So the night hatch operates from 2200, but there is this change in the late night refreshment from 2300. So that's where I'm getting confused at the other time. Could I just pick up on the night hatch operation though? Because I can't understand how, if somebody's going to be selling alcohol through a night hatch at night time, at midnight, if there is something happening in the car park, presumably they wouldn't be encouraged to go out into that car park. There's a whole principle of a night hatch for security of staff. So I struggle to understand how staff can actually deal with an issue going on the forecourt. It is not necessarily, I don't think we're saying about alcohol going elsewhere. It is the issue happening around in the vicinity of the petrol filling station and on the forecourt, which does happen now. And it's the adding of the alcohol to that is our concern.
Well, we're presupposing that there will be issues on the forecourt, aren't we? But the staff training is very, very clear that if there are issues that cannot be dealt with, then the police are called. And that's what we do. We work in partnership with the authorities across England, Scotland and Wales. And indeed, yeah, I'm going to come to evidence at the end, but we're now, predicting, guessing, supposing concerns, and we'll get to that. But, but that's not how we deal with licensing applications, is it?
Mr. Hughes.
Yeah, just like to clarify, do you have CCTV covering your whole of your forecourt?
Yes. Let me just go a little bit further. That's full CCTV with ANPR.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Just to preempt where Mr. Taylor's going to go with his summing up, and you may have heard from previous application, we've got 4 objectives that we have to consider as a committee: prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of nuisance, protection of children from harm. In respect of that, Mr. Pettit, what are you saying in terms of this application and the sale of alcohol? Which aspect would you say that plays to?
Yeah, it plays more to the antisocial behaviour in the vicinity. We don't have evidence of harm elsewhere, other than it has been reported to the police. The police certainly have used the CCTV images from the forecourt cameras. That's how we know that some antisocial behaviour did start from the petrol station. But yeah. So I don't know why I've answered your question properly there.
Thank you. Councillor Gale.
Yeah. Sorry, on the subject of CCTV, does it cover the parking area outside of the forecourt?
Yes. It covers our premises. There are certain difficulties where you start recording stuff that's happening in the street, but we are covered by CCTV.
Any further questions at all? No. So, Mr. Taylor, if you'd like to sum up.
Do I go last as far as the...
You're the only one that...
Oh, right, even better. Well, I get paid by the hour, so... Members of the committee, I sent to Kimberley a week or so ago just some extracts from the Home Office guidance. I don't know if they've been circulated. Lovely. Well,
just to confirm, Mr. Taylor, we received that.
Lovely. Well, let's start then with the Home Office guidance, paragraph 10.15, which is very clear that shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons based on the licensing objectives for restricting those hours. And if you look to the bottom of the page, that's almost replicated by your own policy. Again, 17.1 will consider licensing to, shops and stores and supermarkets to sell alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times they're open for shopping. May consider 17.2. There are good reasons for it restricting the hours. For example, a limitation of opening hours may be appropriate following relevant representations from the police in the case of shops known to be a focus of disorder and disturbance because people gather there and engage in nuisance and or antisocial behaviour. So again, that's what your policy says. 9.43, and this comes from the case law, doesn't it? And you've had far more erudite and articulate people than me talking about the Thwaites case, but it's now there and in the guidance, paragraph 9.43, the authority's determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and proportionate to what it's intended to achieve. And that comes from Thwaites, where a committee was overturned because it made decisions on the basis of guesswork, suppositions, concerns of what might happen. And Her Honour Mrs Justice Black said, had they applied the right principles and determined the application on the basis of real evidence, and she said in her judgment, paragraph 63, the fact that the police did not object should have weighed heavily upon them, then that's what we do. We make decisions on the basis of evidence. 9.12, each responsibility is an authority in its respective field. And 2.1 there, the police should be your main source of advice on crime and disorder. So what we're looking for, against that backdrop, what is the evidence in this case? Is there any evidence for restricting the hours? Well, the evidence is this, isn't it? You have a large operator, vast experience, a spotless track record, who is engaged with the one resident who lodged a representation, who's chosen not to come, with whom we have enough of a relationship to say, right, we'll sort that, we'll move that, we'll do that. And that relationship will continue and endure, irrespective of the decision today. So it's a company with a robust package of measures to promote the licensing objectives. And as far as this application is concerned, and this is of crucial importance, there are no representations from any of the responsible authorities. That Home Office guidance says each responsible authority should be regarded as an expert in his particular field. Well, the experts in crime and disorder, antisocial behaviour are the police. They don't object. The experts in noise nuisance, environmental health, they don't object. Child safeguarding, they don't object. No, not one of the experts objects to this application. So what do we have as far as evidence is concerned? With the greatest of respect to Jim, very, very little, if anything. Oh, there might be issues at the moment. Well, if there are, they're nothing to do with licensing. There's nothing to do with licensed premises. They're issues that can be sorted elsewhere. We've had Phoebe, who's, just for the record, I'm not sure what her position is here. She certainly hasn't submitted a representation. I'm assuming she's representing Mr. McDonald. All right. Okay.
Yeah, just to confirm, I think if I'm right, Councillor Sullivan, it will counsel it, and it's not necessarily objection. It's to represent residents.
Ah, right. Okay. So it wasn't a okay. Well, that makes sense. So we've got the parish council who have concerns about antisocial behaviour not shared by the police. We've got a local resident with whom we've engaged who's chosen not to come. We've got a ward councillor who's not actually that concerned about the sale of alcohol at all, but has a few worries through the night. Ask you one question. Is there any evidence in front of this committee today to say that the sale of alcohol from any ASDA has ever caused a problem anywhere? And the answer, of course, is no. Any evidence that the sale of alcohol from this shop has caused a problem? Well, not that we've heard. And of course, we need to determine on the basis of the evidence. So I'm going to invite you to look at the evidence, determine the application on the basis of evidence. If you find that there is evidence based on the licensing objectives for restricting the hours, and I've said that ASDA wouldn't, had considered agreeing 6 until midnight. But I'd invite you to find there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever, and therefore to grant this for 24 hours. And then to leave it, because of course there is always the opportunity of review if there is ever a problem emanating from the sale of alcohol or the provision of that hot drink. It's never happened so far, and I'm very, very happy to say that I'm very certain it won't happen here. Thank you very much.
Mr. Hughes.
I'll make an exception to just one clarification from Mr. Hughes, Councillor Gale, if that's okay.
Sorry, it's just I'm confused, sorry. The gentleman is saying that they can't sell a hot drink during the night if they don't have an alcohol licence. Sorry, Mr. Hughes.
No, it's late night refreshment. Legislation says that any hot food or hot drink sold after 11 p.m. at night requires a licence between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. Doesn't need licensing up until those hours, only from 11. That's why you require it 11 o'clock till 5. Hot food and hot drink. It's there to regulate things like kebab shops, fast food places, because people consume alcohol and go to these places. but unfortunately it does capture things like cups of coffee and stuff like that.
You happy with that, Mr. Taylor? Would you like to come back?
Well, only to say, we have absolutely no problem. If you want to put a condition on the premises licence that the provision of late night refreshment will be limited to hot drinks only, it's absolutely fine with us.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We'll now adjourn. We'll look to make a decision as quickly as possible. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for waiting. We've obviously deliberated on this application. First of all, very grateful to all of you for turning up. We don't always get people turning up, in particular from objectors, so it's very useful to have your feedback and your views, especially at a local level. Mr. Taylor's put forward a strong case, and he was quite right. There wasn't enough evidence for the committee to consider that anything would be contrary to the licensing objectives. In light of that, we've agreed to accept the application in its full form without conditions. But Mr. Taylor, obviously you've heard the concerns today in terms of littering, in terms of potential antisocial behaviour, and I'm sure you'll take that away to your client and speak with them. Thank you.